death that he was going to go into the ditch. And a car came in up ahead, and Bob says, good. He says, I'll follow those bright red tail lights, and he says he probably knows the road, and he'll keep me from going into the ditch. So he followed him for a long time. This went on for a long time, and the car up front suddenly stopped, and Bob hit him, and Bob got out, and he says, what did you stop so suddenly for? He says, couldn't you have given me a signal? And the man up front says, what, in my own garage? Jack said to his banker, are you worried that I won't make those car payments at the end of the month? And the banker says, well, yes, frankly, I was kind of worried. And Jack says, good, that's what I pay you the interest for. It was the first day of classes, and the professor came in, and he said to the students, he says, if there are any dumbbells in this class, I want you to stand up immediately. And a long time went by, and finally, a lone freshman in the back row stood up, and the professor says, are you a dumbbell? And the freshman says, well, no, sir. He says, but I felt kind of sorry for you standing up there all by yourself. And Ed says that every woman needs a husband. Why? There are just some things that you can't blame on the government. Pete and Mary took their son, their little 7-year-old son, out to a posh restaurant. And they asked the son what he wanted to order, and he said he wanted a peanut butter sandwich. And Pete says, no, no, he says, order something that you've never seen before. And the little boy says, well, I've never seen a peanut butter sandwich before that cost $6. Dick went to California to make his way in the world, and he wrote home to his folks. He says, I got a job, that's a feather in my cap. A little while later, he wrote home, and he says, I got a raise. He says, that's a feather in my cap. A little while later, he wrote home, and he says, I got a promotion, that's a feather in my cap. And it came time for the holidays, and he wanted to come home for the holidays, and he asked his father to send him the airfare, and his father says, take some of those feathers and fly home. Carol had some pictures taken, and her friend was looking at the pictures, and her friend says, these pictures don't do you justice. And Carol says, it isn't justice I need, it's mercy. And Billy came running home from school, and he says, Daddy, I got 100 in school today. And his father says, good, about time. And what? And Billy says, I got 40 in arithmetic and 60 in spelling. And Ed called up his girlfriend and said, he wanted to go out. And she says, no, I'm not going to go out. And Ed says, that's terrible. He says, you're ruining my weekend. He says, what am I going to do with my weekend? And his girlfriend says, wear a hat on it. Alfred got a job working for Jack Lemmon, the movie star, helping Jack Lemmon with his fan mail. And Alfred loved the job, but he didn't like it when he got home, and his family called him a lemonade. Folks, what do you say? Don't you think this would be a good idea? You pick a day when you think you might die, and then you get all ready for that. You get everything all ready for it, and then the day comes, and you don't die, and it doesn't happen. Well, then you can start life all over again. The teacher in school asked all the kids to draw a picture, and Johnny brought up his picture, and the teacher says, this is a blank piece of paper, what is it? And Johnny says, that's a cow eating grass. The teacher says, well, where's all the grass? And Johnny says, well, the cow ate it all. And then the teacher says, so where is the cow? And Johnny says, well, the cow left, there wasn't any grass left. Ted is having a hard time teaching his son ambition and getting somewhere in life. So Ted said to his son one day, do you know what Abraham Lincoln was doing when he was your age? And Ted says, well, no, Dad, but with all due respect, I know what he was doing when he was your age. Pete was out in his car, and the policeman stopped him, and the policeman says, what does your speedometer say? And Pete says, I don't have a speedometer. And the policeman says, what? He says, you don't have a speedometer? How fast do you know you're going? And Pete says, well, I don't need a speedometer. He says, when I get up to 30 miles an hour, it rattles. He says, when I get up to 40 miles an hour, it shimmies. When I get up to 50 miles an hour, it stops. President Reagan is just like any man in the morning, isn't he? He gets up and he shaves. Only President Reagan shaves the budget. Nicky ran into his grandpa, and he says, Grandpa, why does my sister wear her blue jeans so tight? And Grandpa said, so she can fit into her compact car. Sid says they have a product that they advertise on the daytime soap operas. He says, I'd like to have every time I play poker. And his friend says, what product is that, Sid? And Sid says, 2,000 flushes. Little Andy chews Trident gum, and you know why? Because he only has 3 teeth. And Linda is so upset with her husband because he stands around and he watches the football games all the time on the TV. And so when their little boy came in and says, "Mom, what does NFL stand for?" Linda said, "National Foolishness Live." Harry is an avid golfer, and he was having a very, very bad day on the golf course. So he takes all of his golf clubs and he throws them into the pond. He takes all of his golf balls and he throws those into the pond. And he takes his golf bag and he throws that into the pond. He goes up to the clubhouse. He slits his wrists. He's standing there bleeding to death. And his friend John came in and says, "Hi, Harry. How about a game of golf tomorrow?" And Harry says, "What time?" This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. Keep the courage flaming. Glendora continues to help you kids find a good career and work toward it, and how to get into a nice career like television. We take a break now for Glendora, a cheerful look at life, and then we'll go talk to some more people who have made it so well in their fields. Mrs. Johnson was asked, "Did your father die of natural causes?" And Mrs. Johnson says, "Oh no, he had a doctor." Harry was very, very impressed by his girl and how intelligent she is. And he says, "Why, Mary has enough brains for 2 people. He thought about that a while, and he says, "That's why she's just the right person for me." Bill took his new girlfriend in for a ride in his car, and the girlfriend wanted the top down. And Bill says, "Okay, I'll put the top down." It took him 3 hours. The problem is that Bill doesn't have a convertible. Isn't daylight saving time wonderful? You set your watch ahead an hour, and then the sun goes down an hour later every night. And Annette wants to know, how come does the sun know that? Did you hear about the dentist? And Joe said to the dentist, he says, "Doc, you still haven't pulled a right tooth." And the dentist says, "I know, Joe." He says, "But I'm getting closer." And you heard about the dentist and the manicurist who got married? Yeah, now they fight tooth and nail. The second day of your diet is always the easiest day. Have you ever noticed that? Why? Because the second day is the day that you give it up. And Joanne says she has started on the long, long journey to thinness. The trouble is she ran into a problem right away. She found out that she can't travel on an empty stomach. And have you heard about the Wonder Diet? Well, you eat everything you want at night, and then in the morning you wonder if your clothes are going to fit. And John is on the Army diet. That's a good diet. Everything you eat goes to the front. And Mary, she's really solved her dieting problem. She's got herself a new scale, and it's a metric scale. And now she doesn't know what she weighs. Wonderful diet. He doesn't eat anything but bananas. He doesn't drink anything but coconut milk. Now, he's not losing any weight, but boy, can he climb trees. And Pete says that he sticks to his diet religiously. You know what that means? That means during church he doesn't eat. Mary got herself one of these talking scales, one of those electronic, elaborate scales. And she got on it the other day, and the voice said, "Please, one at a time." Joan is on the light diet. That's a good diet, the light diet. As soon as it gets light, she starts to eat. And Paul decided he had to go on a diet when he went to the playground and decided that to get on the seesaw, he had to invite the rest of the neighborhood. Folks, what's a good definition of a diet? A good definition of a diet is you keep putting off while you're putting on. Pat said that his doctor said that he would promise that he'd have Pat on his feet within 2 weeks. And Pat's friend, "Well, did he? Did he have you on his feet, on your feet within 2 weeks?" And Pat says, "He sure did." He says, "When I got the bill, I had to sell the car." And Lou went to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Your cough is much better this morning." And Lou says, "That's because I stayed up all night practicing it." And Mrs. Gordon, when she got her bill from the doctor, she said to the doctor she would like to have him take something off the bill. And the doctor said, "Well, why should I?" And Mrs. Gordon says, "Well, remember all the money that you made?" He says, "When my Harry spread measles through the whole 5th grade." And Pete says his doctor is fine. The only thing he doesn't like about his doctor is that the doctor stores his hypodermic needles on a dartboard. That when his doctor operated on him, the doctor left a sponge inside him. And his friend says, "Gee, that must be painful." And Ed says, No, he says, "It just makes me thirsty." This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. And let's return now to a chat with Glendora and talk to some more people who have done so very, very well in their field and who are willing to share it with you and to give you some idea how you could get into such a field. Welcome to Glendora, a cheerful look at life. This man Harry died and he went to heaven, and St. Peter met him at the gate. And St. Peter says, "Harry, we treat everybody up here on the basis of how faithful they've been in their marriage." Now you see George over there, he was faithful in his marriage, so he gave him a Chrysler. And you see John over there, he's riding around in a Cadillac because he was faithful to his marriage. And Harry, we know you've been faithful to your marriage, and we're going to give you a Lincoln. And Harry started to cry inconsolably. And St. Peter says, don't cry, don't cry. We know you've been faithful all your married life. We're going to give you a Lincoln. And Harry says, yeah, but I just saw my wife go by in a moped. This man was upset that his fourth daughter was getting married. And his friend says, why are you so upset your fourth daughter's getting married? And the man explained, well, my first daughter married a man from Singleton, Missouri, and they had one child. And my second daughter married a man from Twin Oaks, and they had 2 children. And my third daughter married a man from Three Rivers, Michigan, and they had 3 children. And his friend says, so why are you upset about your fourth daughter getting married? And the man says, well, she's going with a man from the Thousand Islands. Why did the bunny rabbit ask to be changed into a goon within the next 24 hours? So he could be hare today and goon tomorrow. What do you call a miniature guppy? Give up? A microfiche. In Buffalo, they have a park called Humboldt Park. And this little boy came out of Sunday school, and his mother says, what did you learn today? And the little boy says, I learned that Jesus sneaked through Humboldt Park. And his mother says, what? And the little boy says, that's right, Jesus sneaked through Humboldt Park. And so when his mother saw the Sunday school teacher, in a few minutes, she says, what did you teach the children this morning in Sunday school? My son said that you taught him that Jesus sneaked through Humboldt Park. And the Sunday school teacher said, no, I told him that Jesus had a meek and humble heart. An 8-year-old ran into the house and he says, Grandma, I dropped my lunch bag on the driveway and Dad backed the car over. And Grandma sighed, that's wheels on meals. Well, how are you coming on your diet? You gain some and you lose some, right? You gain weight and you lose your shape. Have you seen those movies, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4? They're about boxing. You probably thought they were about the economy. Terry Waite says he absolutely will not talk to reporters. At least he will not talk to them now. So he's got a good last name, hasn't he? Waite. That Russian sailor who was going to defect to the United States, you remember? And off the coast of Louisiana, and all of a sudden he was whisked back to the ship. I wonder why he changed his mind about defecting to the United States. I think it's because he found out how much American doctors charge. What do Gorbachev and George Washington have in common? They both have iron teeth. Mayor Koch finally lifted the drought restrictions, but, he says, you still have to be careful. For instance, let your dishes pile up in the sink and do them all at once. He doesn't know that you and I have been doing that for years. And one man during the drought was asked, what would you do if you were down to your last quart of water? And without hesitation, he says, I'd trade it in for a beer. Do you believe everything that you see and hear on the television news, or do you take it with a grain of salt? Of course, you can't take it with a grain of salt if you're on a low-sodium diet. When you get married, if you get married and you live in the suburbs and you bring up the kids, what do you need? You need 2 things. You need a marriage license and a chauffeur's license. The neighbor girl is taking a course in banking. She wants to be a bank teller. And I think it's great to be a bank teller. In fact, I think I should be a bank teller. I belong in a cage. A mother was telling her friend that her daughter had a new boyfriend and his name was Bell. And so the friend says, well, what's this new boyfriend like whose name is Bell? And the mother says, now that you ask me, he's a real ding-a-ling. A mother and a father had 10 sons, and they were all the same height, but they were all different weights. They were all different widths. And the mother used to joke that when the 10 sons stood side by side, you know, being all the same height and being different widths, that they looked like a universal product code. Have you had a cold yet this year? Aren't they terrible? I had one that started here and it went down into this cheek and it made this whole cheek numb. So I went to the doctor to see what he could do about it, and it was the first thing that the doctor did because it cost so much money. He took an x-ray. And so here he has this x-ray of the cranium to find out what was causing this numbness. So what do you say? You and I get a very elaborate frame, and we get a brass plate, and we call it numbskull. This group of women always used to meet in the same woman's house every week. And so one week, the women came to the house, the same room, and they thought it looked very nice, and they said to the hostess, what have you done to this room to make it look so much better? And the hostess said, she didn't say much, and so the woman says, well, you must have new wallpaper. And the hostess says, no. And another woman says, you've got new carpeting, that's what makes it look so much better. And the hostess says, no. And then the third woman says, I know, you've got all new furniture, that's why it looks so much better. And the hostess said, no. And finally, all of the women, practically in unison, says, what have you done to make this room look so much better? And the hostess says, I took down the ironing board. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at life. So stand in there and keep the courage flaming. Bye now. there, girls. How you making out today? This is Glendora, cheerful look at the news. I have a hole in one, too, right here. Listen, what do you think about forced early retirement? This is what I was reading about it. Forced early retirement ranks 9th among the 40 top stress producers in this nation. So I think the stress producer that must rank first is the Mr. Whipple commercials. This article went on to say that since young workers earn lower salaries than older employees, companies frequently require older workers to retire early, then replace them with younger, less expensive workers. Younger, less expensive workers, that's me, folks. Did you see that Sheila Young won the National Bicycle Championship? She won the Showdown 3rd heat by a wheel and a half. Folks, I just don't see how it's possible to ride a bicycle with a wheel and a half, do you? The Republicans have put the Equal Rights Amendment into their platform, and that's the amendment that will give men equal rights with women. The House Banking Committee is nearly complete with their legislation that would create an agency to promote and finance consumer cooperatives. But what businessmen really want is a more cooperative consumer. Okay, Jim Shasky, turn up the audio. Here comes the commercial. Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by Bohack and Village Supermarkets. Now, your nearby Bohack or Village Supermarkets can really be a big help to you planning meals this week. Now, listen, folks. Chicken, fresh, whole, under 3 pounds, just 43 cents a pound. And another real hot Bohack special. Freshly ground chopped chuck, only 79 cents a pound when you buy 3 pounds or more. Now, with either of these, serve Del Monte peas, 17-ounce can, 25 cents. And U.S. #1 all-purpose potato. The big 10-pound bag is only 79 cents. That's today and every day this week at Bohack or Village Supermarkets. It's the place to supermarket.
Available at all B. Altman stores from $4 to $6.
Hi there, folks. How you doing today? Don't forget to vote for Jimmy Carter. No, Jimmy Ford, right? I'm going to vote for Chris Jones. Listen, this is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news, and every day, you know, Singer Sewing Machine, well, every week now and then, Singer Sewing Machine has a very good sale. Now listen, this is what they had on sale last week. They had their extra wide zigzag machine, and I thought to myself, that's what a car is when you drive it, right? Yeah. And then they had flip and sew. A machine. I bet you flip every time you sew. And one machine they have is a 2-step buttonholer. And I've got a neighbor just like that. You probably have too. You get within 2 steps of her and she buttonholes you, right? And then they have a free arm machine, which is something we could have used up on Mars, right, to scoop up the soil. And then they have a free arm machine that's good for hard to get into places. And I thought, well, that means CBS, NBC, and ABC and all that. Well, anyway, the city's Economic Development Administration, folks, obtained a 99-year lease on the Bronx Terminal Market. Now, that's the kind of a lease you'd like to see your daughter get on her boyfriend, right? 2 women were talking about a third bleaching her hair, you know, and one of them says, well, I don't think it's so bad she bleaches her hair, but I don't think she should use Clorox. Talk to you every day by our friends at Bohack and Village Supermarkets. Listen, do you want to save money? Then this week is the week to do it at any Bohack or Village Supermarket. Because in today's Newsday or Long Island Press, you will find their money-saving coupons. Can you imagine Tide detergent, the 49-ounce box, is just 99 cents with a coupon, and Schaefer beer, 6 12 ounces, that's $1.19 with a coupon and any additional $5 purchase. So tonight, treat your family to juicy, fresh Italian prune plums. I've been out with a few of those from the Bohack department. They're just 4 pounds for $1. That's at your nearby Bohack or Village Supermarket, the place to supermarket.
9 p.m.
Hi there, girls. How you doing today? This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. Listen, you see in the newspaper, learn to hustle right in your own home. I bet you do that every time you find out your husband's due home in 15 minutes. Do you play bridge? I keep running into people all the time who want a 4th for bridge, you know, and I keep thinking about them that instead of bridging the gap, they're trying to gap the bridge. Listen, how's your husband at getting things done and getting things you want at the store, right? Well, one lady sent her husband to the store, and one of the things she asked for was promised margarine. And so he brings it home, and the little daughter's going through the bag, and she says, Mommy, Daddy forgot the promise, and she says, it's not the first time. Listen, your husband wouldn't do that, would he? You and your husband have a real sound relationship, and do the people downstairs, the couple downstairs, they really have a sound relationship. They they scream at each other all the time. Now, the back to the school sales has started, and I don't think you're going to get the flu this year because I've heard that you know what to do. You're going to get a transfusion. You'll take out what's in here, and you'll put in Prestone too. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news, and it's brought to you every day by good old Bohack and Village supermarkets. Does your family like cake? Well, listen, they've got Pepperidge Farm Layer Cake, assorted varieties on sale for just 99 cents. So you can get one for tonight's dessert, and you can get one to put in the freezer. 99 cents, and here's another one, Tropicana Orange Juice. It's 100% pure, like me. And that's only a half a gallon, and it's 69 cents. And don't forget, there are two big sale items for this week, folks. Fresh ground chuck, 79 cents a pound when you buy 3 pounds or more, and 10 pounds of all-purpose potatoes, 79 cents. That's this week at every Bohack and Village supermarket, the place to supermarket.
The system reveal themselves as people with deep concerns on Cost of Crime Sunday at 11.
Hi there, girls. How are you doing today? This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. Have you been able to go to any of the concerts at Central Park, New York Philharmonic? They're at Sheep Meadow. Sheep Meadow, didn't she marry Steve Allen? Are you wondering what instrument your youngster should play in school when he goes back to school this fall? How about the trombone? You know, most kids like to play the trombone. You know why that is? Because they like to let things slide. There was an ad in the paper for a 3-piece cast iron skillet set at a terrific price, you know. And some people just think that in order to enjoy the food, you have to cook it in a cast iron fry pan. I know one thing's for sure, girls. In order to enjoy my food, you have to have a cast iron stomach. Very often in the papers we read about a burglary, and you'll hear that some policeman said that the burglary was very professionally done. That means it was done by a former FBI man. Listen, somebody sent me a letter 2 weeks ago, and I haven't got it yet, by U.S. mail. So do you agree with me that U.S. mail, the U.S. stands for uncommonly slow? Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by Bohack Supermarkets. Now, if it does rain this weekend, okay, you'll have to cook inside. But if it doesn't rain this weekend, why don't you get the old man to do your barbecuing outdoors? Because look, at Bohack and Village Supermarket, you can get a whole chicken for only 43 cents a pound, and you can get hamburgers with Bohack's ground chuck. That's only 79 cents a pound when you buy 3 pounds or more. And listen, for a real cool treat, you can have a whole great big watermelon for 7 cents a pound at any Bohack or Village supermarket, and jumbo-sized sweet cantaloupe for 59 cents each. No matter what you want, you can get it for less at Bohack or Village supermarkets. Glendora for theater-size home color. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. Did you read about that girl who resigned from her job in Times Square because she thought it was too dangerous for her to go there? You know, she was accosted and all that. So they asked other women who worked there if they had any trouble, and this one girl said, well, in addition to following the no eye contact rule as I walk down the street, I also make sure not to have a nice expression on my face. She's taking lessons from Earl Butts. You hear these ads on the TV about the money store, right? Well, there's no such thing these days. You can't store money. And Pan Am has a new flight for you to Tokyo, and it's really great. They have 3 international menus for you to choose from. But I'm not going. I've seen all 3 international menus, and they don't have peanut butter sandwiches. There's lots of ads in the newspapers these days for steel-belted radial tires. I think that's great. Do you have steel-belted radial tires? That's the kind of a girdle we got to get, girls. And I saw an ad also for the cars for lifetime shocks. And I began to think, gee, that's what I am to my parents, a lifetime shock. Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by Bohack and Village supermarkets. You know what's so nice about shopping there? Well, it's so big and it's roomy and it's light and it's bright. You know, and the aisles are nice and wide. And being a woman driver with a grocery cart, we really need that. And then you go to the produce department, you know, and everything is not, you know, it's bulk. You don't have to take 3 bad ones and 2 good ones. You can pick out 5 good ones. That's Bohack or Village supermarkets. It's the place to supermarket.
Select fabrics right here in my living room. And now the cutter is pin-fitting my covers exactly the way I want. After they're sewn, he'll come back to install. This Gimbel's custom slipcover and drapery sale is on for just a few more days. So call Gimbel's right now. Call Murray Hill 77500 from the wad. After they're sewn, he'll come back to install.
Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. Listen, here's a poll. In a recent poll, Betty Ford is supported by 60 to 30% of people under 30, and she's supported by 62 to 33% of those with a college education, and we might add, who are supported by their parents. A Consumer Affairs Department investigation found out that 21 TV repair companies were charging people for unnecessary repairs. You see, that's my fault. If you wouldn't watch me on TV, you wouldn't have any trouble with your TV set. We're always hearing on TV about groups that form a task force, and then a little bit later, what do you hear? That such and such a group didn't have the force to perform the task. What do you think of these mercenary soldiers? One little boy asked his daddy, well, you know, what a mercenary soldier was, and his daddy says, that's somebody who fights for money. In New York, who doesn't? Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by good old Bohack and Village supermarkets with a big, big, bright, roomy stores, you know, with a nice, great big aisle, so you have lots and lots of room. And they have such a good selection, you know, not only the standard items that you like, but also the specialty items, so that you don't have to go to 10 stores, you know, to get everything. And their delis, oh boy, their delis are terrific. Corner delis, you know, giving you the specialty items that you really like. You don't, you know, just pick them up, take them home, and serve them, you know, no cooking and all that. Bohack and Village supermarkets, the place to supermarket.
$20 every day with its own wine cellar. Maurice Valenci. We only look expensive.
Hi there, girls. How you making out today? This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. I'm having a little trouble lifting my arm today. You know, I'm like Viking 1. Did you read about the scientists? They gave Viking 1 an order, a command to remove the pin so that Viking's dirt scoop, you know, could operate. And the scientists gave the command in the afternoon, and then they said they expected Viking would respond to the command by the next afternoon. I'm thinking that's how long it takes your son to respond to one of your commands. Hey, folks, what department of the government gives the birth figures? Somebody told me it was the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, but I should think the department that would give the birth figures would be the Department of Labor. Have you ever made a peach pie? I tried to make one, you know, it was just terrible. And then the second one I made came out a whole lot better because I decided to peel the peaches and take the pits out first. There's a woman in Maryland, this is great, who runs a summer camp for city dogs. Now look, for $50 a week, she puts the dogs through the usual summer camp activities, you know, swimming and hiking, and then they have end of the season photos, group photos. And I suppose I'd even, you know, if the dogs get home, she'll let them call up and collect. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news, and it's brought to you every day by Bohack and Village supermarkets. Now, the thing about Bohack and Village supermarkets is the produce. You see, everything is bulk. You know, you go there and you pick out exactly what you want. You don't have to get, you know, 3 things that you don't want and 2 things that you do want. You do all the picking yourself at the Bohack and Village supermarket produce departments. And the specials. You really like to save prices, don't you? Well, those specials are terrific. Every day at the Bohack and Village supermarket. It's the place to supermarket, isn't it? Hi, girls. How are you doing today? This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. And listen, everybody's still enjoying the bicentennial. America is celebrating its independence from England. Pretty soon, folks, we can celebrate our independence from Saudi Arabia. Listen, food prices continue to climb, but can you tell me how much longer is it going to be and how much higher do the food prices have to get before people on TV stop throwing pies in other people's faces? United States Customs is out there reminding people before they buy products abroad, they should make sure that it's legal to bring them back to America, and that includes anybody you just might marry. Listen, the beaver, you know, is now the official animal of New York State. Governor, you know, Kerry signed it and the state legislature acted upon it. So let's hope that this is not a symbol for the state's finances, because a beaver is somebody who clogs up something that was running smoothly. Governor Kerry shouldn't have any trouble figuring out the millions that we need for New York State, should he? After all, for a father of 12, that's a snap. People in New York City are very stylish now. If you watch closely, pretty soon you're going to see them out walking their dogs, and the dogs are going to be wearing platform shoes. This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news, and it's brought to you every day by good old Bohack and Village supermarkets. And look at the Labor Day specials Bohack and Village supermarkets has for you. The most important people in the whole world, you are, as far as they're concerned. USDA choice shells of beef, $1.39 a pound. Juicy boneless breast of chicken cutlets, $1.59 a pound. USDA choice shoulder London broil, $1.19 per pound. Fresh ground chuck chop, 79 cents a pound when you buy 3 pounds or more. That's at Bohack or Village supermarket. It's the place to supermarket.
almost very thin. But imagine losing weight just like that. Put on a happy face at your vision center.
Hi, folks. How are you doing today? This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news, and the FBI is in the news today for its counterintelligence activities in the 1960s. Girls, I remember I lost my first job as a sales clerk in a department store for my lack of counterintelligence. Now, you know what would solve New York City's fiscal crisis? Can you fix it so that New York City will win the New Jersey lottery? So many of the airlines now are advertising their wide-body jet service. Go to the airlines, girls, and take a look at the passengers. They're wide-body, too. You know, NASA still hopes that the U.S. will orbit a space colony of 10,000 people in the next 50 years. So I think I'll send NASA the names of my neighbors. Vocalist Tom Jones is still going all over the country, you know, and he gives his concert, and then he kisses all the girls who come to his dressing room. So don't you think that he should be the Secretary of State because he's the original kiss singer? In the 40s, people used to talk about white-collar workers, right? And then in the 60s, they used to talk about blue-collar workers. And now what are they talking about? Ring-around-the-collar workers. Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by good old Bohack supermarkets. Look at the Labor Day specials Bohack and Village supermarkets have for you. The most important people in the whole world, as far as they're concerned. You are. USDA choice shells of beef, $1.39 a pound. Juicy boneless breast of chicken cutlets, $1.59 a pound. USDA choice shoulder London broil, $1.19 per pound. And fresh ground chuck chop, 79 cents a pound when you buy 3 pounds or more. Drive carefully over the Labor Day weekend. Go to every Bohack and Village supermarket. It's the place to supermarket.
Wrinkle and up high and hold this down.
I said the bologna you love best shows this famous boy and girl.
Aunt Flo Gretel bologna. She knew it all the time. There's that fresh farm flavor.
You each win a prize. Like the kind I loved when I was a child.
Hi there, girls. How you doing today? Did you have a really good Labor Day? Listen, why is it, folks, this is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. Why is it that Americans are always celebrating Labor Day by spending the day loafing? And the kids, your kids all back to school pretty soon, aren't they? What are you going to do then? Just collapse, right? And I was looking at some bicentennial pictures, and they had the old one-room schoolhouses, you know, and they look so nice, and one of them had a little white picket fence all the way around it, you know. And last year in New York City, do you remember, we had a picket fence around the school, but it was made of people. You know, Robert Christian was the chief negotiator last year at this time for the Board of Education. Do you remember? And don't you think that they should have had some people, some pupils, you know, on that decision because on the Board of Education, because I figure that they're as Board of Education as any of us, right? And things were really bleak. But in the whole thing, what was nice last year, that as bad as things got, at least Sesame Street didn't go on strike. And a lot of kids these days, you know, they don't care about school as much as they used to. You know, they like their teachers. Very, very, very few of them think that their teachers should be president of the AFL-CIO, right? Very few of them think that they're old meanies. Listen, this is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news, and it's brought to you every day by Bohack Supermarkets, and I have some really good specials for you, girls. Look, honeydew melons, a great, great, great big ones, you know, sugar sweet, 89 cents each. And then also in the produce department, you will find snappy, fresh string beans. I married one of those. 3 pounds for only $1. That's today at the friendly Bohacker Village supermarket. And then in the meat department, you can have broiling or frying chickens. They're whole, under 3 pounds. The limit is 4 with additional purchase for just 39 cents a pound. That's at Bohacker Village supermarket. It's the place to supermarket. How you doing today? This is Glendora, a cheerful look at the news. Well, the kids are all back to school, right? What a relief that is. I don't think the kids really mind school these days, do you? What they object to is the principle of the thing, right? Listen, parents and educators are very, very concerned, are you, that children today do not know enough geography. But I bet your kids know a lot of geography. They know the Pittsburgh Steelers, Miami Dolphins, Buffalo Bills, New York Jets. Were you able to get your son to get a haircut? before he went back to school? I guess a lot of mothers have given up. Barbara can't help their sons anymore. They got to send their kids to a dog grooming parlor. And dancing, you know, now that they're back to school, the music lessons will start, and then the dancing lessons will start. And you know, kids today, what they want to learn? They want to learn how to tap dance in their platform shoes. Last fall at this time when the kids were going back to school, do you remember that the big movie of the year was Jaws? Well, 1976 is a year of the Jaws, too. It's an election year. This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at the News, and it's brought to you by our friends Bohack and Village Supermarkets. And this is Wednesday, girls. This is the day that you can get all those coupons for Bohack and Village Supermarkets from these three newspapers, News, Newsday, and Long Island Press. Now, look at this, 4 knockout coupon sales for you. You'll save money with every $5 purchase, see? You can take advantage of 1 or all 4 of these coupons. Clorox bleach, a gallon jug is only 59 cents. It's great for your hair. 26-ounce bottle of Heinz ketchup is 59 cents. Sunsweet prune juice, 32-ounce bottle is 39 cents. And Log Cabin syrup, 24-ounce bottle is just 89 cents. These are really solid savings at every Bohack or Village supermarket. It's the place to supermarket. Girls, this is Glendora, Cheerful Look at the News. How are we doing today? Isn't it sad that we're called Aid City? But don't be discouraged, folks. In 3 years, won't we be called Paid City? And you know how they're always having these weeks all the time, you know, National this week and National that week, National Education Week, that's the week that we're all supposed to be educated. And coming up soon is my week, folks, is National Clown Week. But it was so sad, I thought, you know, last year, right in the middle of National Clown Week, Good Humor was indicted. Isn't that sad? Listen, Cher started out one of her programs, you know, on CBS Sunday nights. She says, I'm Cher, I'm 28, I weigh 104 pounds sometimes, and then other times I weigh 108 pounds. Don't you think the 4-pound difference is in the makeup? Listen, Cher is married to George Allman, as you all know, but one thing is for sure, folks, isn't it? Cher is all woman. Well, the Blue Cross rates haven't increased lately, and we're glad of that, because every time those Blue Cross rates increase, people get bluer and crosser, don't they? Some people say that Jerry Ford isn't paying enough attention to unemployment problems, but I think he is. I think he thinks a lot about unemployment, particularly on January 21st this year. Glendora, Cheerful Look at the News is brought to you every day by good old Bohack and Village Supermarkets. Now look, ladies, your best meat values in town this week are at the Bohack and Village Supermarkets. Listen to this, girls. Quarter chicken parts, only 49 cents a pound. And there's other remarkable meat savings, too. And when you think Bohack, think also produce, because this week you'll find large-size, sugar-sweet honeydew melon, and they're only 89 cents each. They're sort of shaped like me. Large-size, sugar-sweet honeydew melons, 89 cents each. That's at your nearby and friendly Bohack or Village Supermarket. It's the place to supermarket.
With a high near 70 degrees. Sunday, sunny and cool with the highs in the 70s. Right now, 74 degrees and pouring in Central Park.
He's had chemotherapy.
Tonight on the 10 o'clock news, sound, pictures, audio, everything you want to have. Thanks for watching. Have a very good afternoon.
How you doing today? This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at the News. I'm sorry that it's raining so hard outside and now you just got to look at another drip, right? Listen, there was a report on TV that this woman married 15 different aliens in order to make them United States citizens, and the interviewer was shocked, you know, that one woman would marry 15 different times, but for Elizabeth Taylor, that's routine. Listen, what do you think of this time of year with so many politicians, you know, so many candidates? Can you tell me why it is that a candidate is always the last person in the world to be candid? If the U.S. Navy would make a survey, they would find that sailors from New York City have the best sea legs because, you know, when the ship pitches and rolls and the seas swell, well, the New York City sailors keep their footing firmly on the deck because they grew up riding New York City buses. Dick Cavett had a show on giving up smoking, and he ended it by saying, girls, that smoking is still, cigarettes are still a $10 billion a year business. So slow economy or not, Americans still have money to burn. Friday is today, and we're very glad of that. And I asked the secretary, how you doing? And she said, oh, it's Friday, and it's and a weekend coming. I said, what'd you say? She says, it's Friday and a weekend coming. And for all the world, the way she said it, it sounded like it's a Freudian weekend coming. Well, I imagine there are a few of those. Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by Bohack Supermarkets. And yesterday, girls, I was in the loveliest Bohack supermarket. It was out in Hicksville, and I'm about as big a hick as anybody. And it was just terrific. I love it. Now, listen, the weekend here is what Bohack can do for you. See, whether you need a very light breakfast, or whether you need a quick lunch, or whether you need a sumptuous supper, dinner, you can get everything you need at Bohack or Village supermarkets. Go to the meat department and get fresh quartered chicken parts, just 49 cents a pound. And in the produce department, you'll find jumbo-sized cantaloupes, just 59 cents each. And they're sugar sweet, like me. Juicy seedless grapes for 49 cents a pound. We just love to shop at Bohack and Village supermarkets, don't we? Bohack and Village supermarkets, the place to supermarket.
Presents Morris. Look who came to visit.
Visit? It's an invasion.
Amuse the darlings, Morris.
I'll tell them facts of life.
Then, everybody.
Fact 1, be finicky, don't budge.
This is Glendora, cheerful look at the news, and we have a brand new Miss America. I don't understand it. I didn't make it again this year. Can you tell me why they're going to let it go as Miss America? How come they haven't got after her? It's supposed to be Ms. America. And our new Miss America, her figure measurements are 36, 24, 36. And nobody told us whether that was in the metric system or not. Last year, and our new Miss America wasn't wearing blue jeans or a wig. Did you notice that? The wigs are getting pretty realistic, I think, girls. Pretty soon they're going to have a wig so that when the woman wearing it gets frightened, the hair in the wig will stand on end. The new Miss America, Miss Godden was the Miss America last year, right? Elaine Godden. And she was the tallest Miss America yet. She was 5 feet, 10 1/4 inches. And that just goes to remind us less attractive ones that beauty goes a long way. Listen, on the news every day, practically, you hear that there's a coup. In one part of the world. Some days you even hear about two of them. There's a coup in this part of the world and a coup in that part of the world, and that just goes to show us that in the United States isn't quite as cuckoo as the rest of the world. And another thing we don't have in this country is terrorists, although sometimes I think we do have terrorists. And they're the people who pump your tank full of gas and they come to the window and tell you how much it's going to cost. Glendora, a cheerful look at the news is brought to you every day by good old Bohack and Village supermarkets, and it's a new week, girls. And you're off to a flying start of food savings at your friendly and nearby Bohack or Village supermarket. Here's what's waiting for you for wonderful buys. USDA chuck steak, 49 cents a pound. And in the grocery department at Bohack or Village supermarket, you will find Del Monte peaches, sliced or halves, just 49 cents for the 29-ounce can. And for those back-to-school kids, let's get them back to school as fast as possible, is grape jelly. The Welch's grape jelly, too. The big 32-ounce jar, 79 cents. That's this week at Bohack or Village supermarket. It is the place to supermarket.
Product is front setbacks, side setbacks, or rear yard.
I can't meet my setbacks either. I get too many of them.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's my privilege tonight to introduce Glendora Folsom, who is married and is a resident of Buffalo, New York. Glendora has worked in television since the 1950s. She has worked for NBC Studios in Hollywood, California, in script services, and is very familiar with Bob Hope and Red Skelton. Worked with Channel 4 in Boston, Massachusetts, and also associated with Channel 6 in Schenectady, New York. You probably remember the Glendora show on Channel 6. Now, Glendora works with Colonial Cablevision and can be seen on our Channel 12 Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. It's my pleasure to introduce Glendora Folsom.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you very much, Hudson Falls, Kiwanis. Bill Goodrich, I was wondering if you'd come on up and sort of tell the folks about some of the functions, what Kiwanis is and what Kiwanis does and all that? Can you do that? Or is it too late in the evening for you to do
It's getting there.
Oh, I can hold it. I can hold it.
And we give these activities in our club top priority. Kiwanis is a definite force for good in our community, and I think that's why all of our membership belongs. So we have programmed 5 of the fellows here tonight who are going to tell you a little bit more about each activity that Kiwanis is involved in, and hopefully your audience will get to know a little bit more about Kiwanis. We're very proud to have this opportunity.
I think you spoke very, very well, Bill Goodrich. I use your sneakers and your tires and all those things. Would you say that, Dr. Lee Potvin? Michael?
Lee, you're right.
Mitchell. Right, Mitchell is your
Lee's
real
okay,
name,
exactly.
but you'd rather have people call you Lee. Okay. Mitchell, could you tell us about
Thank you, Lee.
some of your youth services and your youth community work? Everybody, this is a chat with Glendora, Colonial Cablevision, Channel 12. We're at the, where are we at?
Washington County Cooperative Extension Service.
And the Annex.
Right, at the Annex.
Right. And this is Nancy Winkler. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Nancy, your job, you're the big chief.
No, I'm the second chief.
You're the second chief? What's the job of the second chief?
I'm the instructor in textiles and clothing for Washington County.
And today you've all been making pants?
Right.
Yes.
For men and women.
For men and women?
Right.
The same pair?
No. They have their choice.
I see now, like this woman over here, her name is right there. She was cutting out this pair.
Right.
That looks like a pair of pants for men?
No, she's making a pair of Bermuda shorts for herself.
And her name is what?
I'm sorry. Mrs. Clark.
Mrs. Christine Clark. Good, Christine. And how often do you have your sewing class?
It varies. This one's a pants class, and this is for 4 weeks.
It's going to take 4 weeks to make pants?
Right.
Right. Then it'll take 4 weeks to decide who's going to wear them?
No.
It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yes.
So. And over here, won't you tell us about your coming into the extension, what you learned to do when you first came?
I first came, made a shirt for my husband. And
Yes?
So I decided to come out and make pants for him, I hope.
Yeah, you went a long time there without pants, didn't you?
Yes. I hope a pair to fit him.
Now let's talk to some other sewer. Tell us how you got started, won't you please?
The food lesson.
The food lesson?
They had a food demonstration, yeah.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Well, it was very good. Mrs. Kirk had the demonstration.
Yes.
And then we all ate the food.
Mrs. Kirk is a good cook?
And it was very good.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, it was very good.
You didn't eat too much? You look kind of nice?
I still could put some more on. Thank you.
And how long ago was that you ate?
About 4 months ago. Wasn't it about 4 months ago they had the lesson? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So, see, we can be in Saratoga County is very good, too. But, I mean, this is much easier to get to.
Sure.
The distance is shorter.
Yeah, right. You put in a good word for them. Nancy's going to finish your pants for you.
All right, good.
Can you stand up, hon, so I can see you? Tell me how you got interested in extension. We wanted to know, could you tell me about the cost? The women might be wondering about the cost.
Well, there's only $1.
Really? Mm-hmm. And that's good for how long?
For the whole course.
Really?
For the course of the pants.
For the pants? Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty good. And you get your own material, and you pick out your own pattern.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Did you pick out an easy pattern?
No.
That's probably where the women need the help the most, is picking out an easy pattern.
No. I thought that it would be better for me to pick out one that's a little more difficult for me, because then I'd have the help.
Yeah, well, that's good thinking. For $1, that's pretty good thinking. Yeah, who else would like to talk to us on behalf of the extension? Okay, I'll go find somebody. Let me wind my way in and around here. I want to thank Harold Updike for taking care of the camera for us. Hi, I got you. Why did I pick on you?
I don't know.
Oh, I think you have such a nice face. Won't you tell me what you think of the course?
Well, it's the first time, but I think it's excellent. We have an excellent teacher.
That would be Nancy Winkler?
That would be Nancy Winkler.
You know, you hear the expression, you know, always getting a new wrinkle on something. She's always getting a new winkle, right? Fitting pants to your figure. Did that come with the course?
That came with the course. This was, oh, we got a whole lot of handouts for $1.
Tell me some more of them.
Can you think of some more of them, hon?
Oh, gosh. Fitting the pants, wasn't it?
Yeah? Oh, boy. Here's one, folks.
Fashion and fit.
Yeah. Sometimes your husbands have a fit at your fashion, right?
All right.
Where did you train?
I've been real smart.
I went a student at Drexel University in Philadelphia, and I got my master's at Michigan State.
Did you really? Yes. And how'd you happen to end up in our nice area?
I got married.
The boy was out of school for 3 weeks, and it was time for him to go back. And he told his mom he wanted a written excuse, and she says, no, you don't need a written excuse. You just tell your teacher that I needed you for a few weeks. You don't need any written excuse. And he got panicky, and he says, Ma, if you don't give me a written excuse, I'll be burned. And so the teacher, the mother called up the teacher, and she says, what did you tell my child? And the teacher said, I told everybody, if anybody was out of school for 3 weeks or more, he'd have to have a written excuse or he'd be dropped from the register. We were teaching these children, and it was in the big city, and we were teaching them Monday through Thursday, and they really came from very large families, and you couldn't reach them, as a group. You had to sit down and talk to each child individually, and try to reach him that way. And so that's what we wrote into the lesson. We said the policy of this school is individual, and the little kid that I was teaching, he read it, the policy of this school is invisible. And one lesson we were trying, it was held at a church, and one day this little girl came down. It was a day I couldn't be there, and the other teacher was supposed to be there, but she was late. And so this little girl came in, and nobody was paying any attention to her. And the women were coming into the church and going, and the women didn't know who the little girl was, and she was awfully lonesome. So finally Nancy came, and she sat down to the little girl, and they say prayers all the way through it, and the prayers were beautiful. But this was her little prayer. She said, thank you, God, for all the people who come to this church on Monday. Thank you, God, for the women who come to this church on Tuesday. Thank you, God, for me coming to this church Monday through Thursday. Thank you, God, for all the people who come to this church Sunday, and thank you, God, for Miss Nancy who comes to this church late. My husband's a newspaper reporter, and he brings home so many papers, girls. Oh, it's terrible. And he'll pick up 3 or 4 copies of his own paper, and then 2 or 3 copies of the competition paper. And if there's a Milwaukee Journal sitting around the office, he'll put that under his arm. And the New York Times, he'll tuck that under his arm. Or if there's a St. Louis Post-Dispatch, that goes under his arm, And off he comes home with all these papers. And one night he was coming up the stairs to our house, and a little newsboy going around delivering the evening paper, and he looks up at this big man at 6'1". He says, gee, mister, how's your route going? Oh, and this was, a couple years ago, I worked up in Maine, and I had to come down to get way down here, down in this section. It's a long ways up there, and I had to leave at 2 a.m. And so I was coming through the New Hampshire toll booth, and there's big, fat New Hampshire man, taking the toll, very jolly guy, great big smile, and he said, hi, neighbor. And then I gave him my money, and he was giving me my change, and here's the reason he hesitated. He says, he says, them boys come through here, he says, and they have long hair, and I wasn't too sure about you, but the minute I seen your curlers, I knowed you was genuine. And the last one, next to last one I have to tell you was about this basketball game that I was covering up in Maine, and they go really big for it, up there, basketball. This was at a college, Husson College, and the former basketball coach was there. She was great for the girls' basketball, always. But presently she's assistant to the president. Well, anyway, she came in, and she sat down there in the bleachers, and she got right in there on scoring them on. Leading them on. She said, "Get in there, Hassan. Get in there, Hassan. Defense, Hassan. Defense, Hassan. Get them out of there, Hassan. Get them out of there, Hassan. Get them down to the other end, Hassan. Defense. Rebound, Hassan." He turned around to the woman behind her, and she says, "Who are they playing?"
2.5-inch thick planks, and then capped top and bottom.
Huh. What fascinates you about this, Gene?
It's just the warmth of wood. Something that we can't seem to produce anything that has a cellular structure like wood. It's just, you know yourself, the beauty of wood that people use.
Oh, I do. I have it between my ears, Jim. Would you be so kind?
For about 10% of it. In other words, I use it strictly for outlining, and everything else is hand cut. Because each thing, such as the chisels that were designed out of Europe by the wood carvers, each one had its own purpose. Each chisel fit a certain area, so therefore it's just a matter of literally slicing it out to fit that area.
Gene, in the cable TV business, I've met a lot of chiselers, but I've never seen one work so hard as you do. I wonder.
Practice dental hygienists, and we have public health dental hygienists, we have federal hygienists. Wow. So that the opportunities are unlimited, and we are very much undermanned.
Really?
We need hygienists.
Well, then this is a good thing that we have this all on television.
I'd hope that we can reach a few people.
Thank you, Barbara Hauser. Thank you. Hey, folks, you can't fall. Here, in case you're ill at ease, I brought something along to make you feel very... I need that for my camera. Because I was coming up the stairs of the classroom one day, and he said, "Buenos dias, señora. ¿Cómo está usted?" And in my best Castilian Spanish, I said, "Très bien, et vous?" My mom and I... And also on the radio, a guy was interviewing me, and he asked me what sign I was born under. And apparently he was born under Gemini, and his wife was born under Scorpio. And he kept telling me how his wife was a Scorpio. And it interested me why he was so impressed that his wife was a Scorpio. I think the reason is that he felt her sting, right?
Modern methods of house cleaning, which we could use now. Clothing, counting the cost.
Have you seen my house? Is that why you said that?
And making a cotton dress.
And then you do what's all around it.
Yes.
You put in all that white in there?
Yes, I'm just filling
That's
in.
hard. Yeah, that takes a long time. We're not supposed to look at the back, right?
No.
Like people, you just look at the front. And your name is?
Vivian Rogers.
Vivian Rogers, and you're the one who brought in that nice member.
Yes, I invited them.
Yeah, right.
In September.
Is she still? You're still speaking to each other?
Yes, they're real good friends.
Would you show that to the folks? That's so pretty.
This is a pillow top, cross stitch.
Cross stitch. Every stitch you get more and more cross. Is that the idea?
I think so.
Just about everything. Good lab, good needle. Yeah. Just about everything.
I enjoy it all.
You really do. And you're from where?
I used to be from Fort Edward, now from Salem.
From Salem? Yeah. And is it hard for you to get over?
No.
Yeah. You hitchhike?
I drive.
You drive over? Yeah, it doesn't take long, does it? And everybody, here's a few funny things that happened. Dora Richardson, she's a great tall woman, and she saw this hat in a store just before Easter, and she wanted that hat so much, but it was one of the better stores, and she had to wait until the price. She was hoping they wouldn't sell it for Easter, and that it'd be marked down after Easter. So she watched it and watched it and watched it. She was thrilled right up until Good Friday. This hat was still in the store. And then Monday, right after Easter, she went down to see that hat, and they had it up on the shelf, and she put it on, you know. Gee, it looked nice. Oh, it looked just right, fit on her head just right, you know, and she's looking at it in the mirror, and then she takes it on, she sees some more hats on the counter, she picks up a hat that was sitting right here, and she put that on, and she liked that too, and there was this little short woman watching her put on that hat, and Dora's saying, "Isn't this a lovely hat?" She says, "I just love the way it fits, this is such a nice hat," and she looked down, Dora's quite tall, and she looked down at the woman, and she says, "Don't you like this hat?" And the woman says, "That's my hat." I was taking a class, folks, and there was this boy from South America, and he was trying so hard to learn the foolish ways we have of saying goodbye. Have you ever noticed hardly anybody ever says goodbye? We say, you know, what do we say? See you in church? Yeah. Don't take any wooden nickels? Yeah. Don't do anything I wouldn't do? Right? Things like that. Anything but goodbye. So we were on the bus together, and we were going to have a test in 2 or 3 days, and he got off the bus before I did, and instead of saying goodbye, he said to me, "Take it easy." And I thought that was wonderful. And then the bus joggled along a little bit before he really had to get off, and so he had a chance to say, give me another farewell. And he said, this time he said, "And study hard." Mom and I were at a little gathering such as this, and we were having a wonderful time. They had terrific refreshments, and they gave my mom a beautiful cup of tea. She loves her tea, you know, just as hot as it can be, how she loves her tea. And the nice hostess was going around, you know, filling up the cups. And she said to Mom, "Would you like to have me heat it up for you?" And Mom says, "Oh, yes, I'd love to have you." And the hostess takes it, and she pours in generously, way, way up to the top. But she was pouring in coffee. Anything else you'd like to tell the folks, Don, about the disaster program?
Well, we are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
It's worse than working for cable.
Well,
your favorite subject in school is what? Recess or cafeteria or
French?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Say something in French. Say the chat with Glendora is really lousy. Say that. No, what would chat? Chat in French means cat, doesn't it?
Yeah, chat means cat.
Yeah, chat means cat. So say something in French, can you?
Like what?
Can you say Catholic Daughters of America?
Les filles catholiques d'Amérique.
Very good. What did she say? Hey, you're very good. I like the way you say it. You must have been taking it a long time.
3 years.
Yeah. Say something else. I like to hear something else.
Like what?
Say Channel 12. Chanel number 5.
Chandeuse.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy when you say French. This is Shendu, folks. Uniforms.
These are our uniforms.
They're very lovely green, folks. The uniforms, not the people.
Not yet, I'm green.
Folks, this is a meeting of the Catholic Daughters of America, and we're meeting at Knights of Columbus here in the Hudson Falls, and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, this boy in high school, he was being tutored in geometry. And his teacher asked him to graph this equation. You know that stuff with all the lines going, right? Yeah, she asked him to graph the equation. And so he said, well, it would look like this and it would look like that. And she says, why don't you get a piece of graph paper and really draw it out? And the kid says, well, actually, I can do it in my head. And so she said, all right. She says, now, place this point, 3, 2. She says, that's 3 over on the x-axis and 2 up on the y-axis. And he says, well, actually, isn't that just the same as 2 up on the y-axis and 3 up over on the x-axis? And she says, all right. And then she says, when x is equal to 4, what is y equal to? And he starts figuring this all out and so forth. And she says, why don't you get a piece of paper, and write this out the way that you should do? And he says, well, actually, I can figure it out in my head. And so she asked him, when y equals 10, what does x equal? And he started figuring out. She says, don't you think that you should get a piece of paper and write this out and do it the way it should be done? He says, well, actually, yes, I do. This man I knew, folks, down in Schenectady, he had a wonderful expression. Whenever he said goodbye, he'd say, keep the courage flaming. And I thought that was so nice, And so I was talking to somebody over the telephone, a woman, about coming to her club. And it was a very cheery conversation. I wanted to end it happily, I wanted to say, keep the courage flaming. And I started to say it, and then all of a sudden I realized to whom I was speaking. She was a president of a women's auxiliary for a volunteer firemen's company. I was on the radio, and it was a telephone talking show. And this man called up and he said, I heard you were up in Maine. He says, my daughter is responsible for putting locks on all of the bathroom doors in the Blaine Mansion. That's where the governor lives in Maine. She says, my little daughter was out playing with Governor Muskie's son, Stevie. And they were playing up around the Blaine Mansion. And my daughter came home and she said to me, "Gee, Daddy, Governor Muskie looks as funny in the bathtub as you do." This woman and I, we were trying to teach some children, and we were trying to teach them the passage, "Don't bury your talents." And this little girl we were teaching, she said, "My sister don't got any." And the other teacher says, "Oh, yes, everybody has talents." And the little girl said, "No, she had them out last week." And we were trying to teach them not to think about the past and don't think about the future. You know, keep your mind in the present, like your organization, to be as nice as everybody as you can in the present. Don't wander off into the future. And the little boy I had read it, "Don't wander off into the furniture." And two nice ladies from an organization very much like yours came down to help the children, and the little children were so pleased. And so comes the next day, the little girl comes up to me and she wants to write them a letter. And she said to me, "How do you spell use?" And I said, "U-S-E." And I looked over to see how she put it in the letter, and at the end of the letter she had written, "I love yous too." And there's one little boy, girls, he had a clock, a puzzle. You put it all together in pieces, and it came out to be a little clock, and it had little hands that moved. And he got down on his knees for the play period, and he started going through every hour of the day. He'd say 9 o'clock, 15 minutes after 9 o'clock, and he'd move the hand 30 minutes after 9 o'clock, 45 minutes after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And he went through every hour of the day that way. And it was time to close the school, and all the other kids, you know, they were all dressed with their mittens, ready to go home, you know, and I didn't know what to do with this little boy. And he's 3 o'clock, 15 minutes after 3 o'clock, 30 minutes after. We're all standing around watching, you know, and finally the silence got to him. And he's up to here by 5 o'clock, 15 minutes after 5 o'clock, 30 minutes after 5 o'clock, 45 minutes after 5 o'clock, and then he looks up at me and he says, "Well, what time is it?" And I was taking a course at the State University of New York at Buffalo, and I try to read the Bible every day because I'm in trouble enough. And so the time was going by, and I didn't have the Bible. I should have been home, you know, and I had to wait for this professor, and the time was going by. So I went up to, it was a sort of a science library there on the campus, and I says, "Do you have a Bible?" And the boy looked at me in such a shocked expression, I was sorry, you know, that I'd asked. And he said, "Well, wait a minute," and he disappeared into the back room, folks, and the next voice I heard was a woman's voice. I think it was the librarian. He was just a clerk. And I heard the librarian say, "Well, look it up in the catalog." And I was interviewing a man from Africa, and he'd been brought up by a wonderful order of Catholic fathers. And he said the name of the order. He said the something something fathers. And he had a terrific, he had a beautiful accent, but it escaped me, you know. And this was right on the radio. And I wanted him to say it again to make sure the people at home heard it. And I says, the what fathers? And he said the something something fathers. I says, "I don't know what you're saying. Can you tell me? I'm having trouble with that. What did you say?" He says, "You're having trouble with the Holy Ghost?" And then one man I interviewed, and then another program I had to be on was down in Pittsburgh, and it was from 1 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the morning. And I stayed up all that time, you know, and I guess I got kind of nervous or tired or something. By the time I went to do that program, my face was all red blotches. And they had a commercial there, and it was for plaid stamps. And I was sure that they were going to take a picture of me as one of the original plaid stamps. Now, this little story was about a boy who came over. He used to come over to my house quite often. And he cheered me up no end one day when he said, "You know how you're trying to do your housework? You know, knock, knock, knock." And he cheered me up no end one day when he said, "Well," he said, "we get out of school," he says, "a week from today," and he says, "and then I can come over and see you every day." Well, anyway, one day he came over to see me, and I was making these envelopes ready to go out in the mail, and I had about 40 of them. And I had a little jar of water there, and I'd take a little cloth, and I'd go over the envelope and then press it down and do it all very neatly. He says, "Can I do it for you?" And I said, okay. I said, this is how you do it. And then you pile it in a nice little pile, and you do it very, very neatly. And then I said as a joke, I said, if you do it nicely now, Mark, you can drink the water. So I went into the living room, you know, to do something out. I came out in the kitchen. He had those envelopes done. They were done beautifully, and there he was drinking the water. On that same day, a woman came down the street, and she says, do you know where Jack Fortune lives? And I says, no, he's nobody I know, but let's go in the house. We'll look it up in the telephone book, and maybe I can find out where he lives for you. And so she did. She came into the house. We found the number. He lived right across the street. And then my husband came into the house, and he says, where did that girl go? So I told him, she's gone to seek her fortune. Now, the last little story I have to tell you, folks, is about a little extra out in Hollywood. You know, he never had a speaking part before. No speaking part before. So he got his first speaking part, and this is all he had to do. See, he was in a room. Another man was in a room, and then a third man came into the room, and he said he was supposed to say to the little extra, did you see that man come into the room? And the little extra was supposed to say, I did. That's all he had to say, I did. He went home and he rehearsed it and rehearsed it and rehearsed it. You know, there's lots of ways you can say it. He says, I did, I did, I did. And it came time for them to shoot the film. The man comes into the room and he says, did you see that man come into the room? And the little extra said, did I?
There's nothing right now. I'm a past Grand Regent. I was the second past Grand Regent.
You were?
Yeah, the organization started in 1947. And Ethel Sullivan was the first Grand Regent, and then I was the second Grand Regent. And then we had we had around 184 charter members.
Is that right?
And we did a lot of charity work and different committees that took care of whatever they were assigned to do. Outside of that, well, everything went very wonderful.
You did very well. Now, past Grand Regent, that would cover what area?
Well, that's the past Grand Regent of this organization, Court Mater Dei.
Of this chapter?
Yes.
I see. I see. There's a regent, or a Grand Regent is the same thing as a regent?
Well, they call them regents now.
You're not grand up there, Ev.
I don't know how grand now.
And the different offices.
Martha Marachak, and she's the incoming president. Are you worried, Martha?
Yes.
I think you're going to be a terrific president, because when we called on you to come up, you said, well, I have a vice president.
That's all right. Not things we're going to have twins. He was a little shook. So when they were born, he called my folks at home, and he spoke to my aunt, and he said, Betty, he said, we have a baby. And she said, oh, great. She said, we have the cradle. We're all ready for you. And he said, no, Betty, you'll have to have two cradles.
So that's how he broke it.
That's how he broke it.
Yeah. How old are yours?
My twins are 6.
They're 6?
Yes.
And they're boys?
They're boys, yes. Stephen and Anthony, after the grandfathers.
I was on radio in Boston. It was one of these swap shows, you know, they call in, swap things, and this woman called in, and she said that she had twins. She had a boy and a girl, and the announcer was very, very sleepy, and apparently he didn't hear her say that, and after about 2 or 3 minutes, he said, so you have twins, are they identical? A boy and a girl, how can they be identical? In speaking to ladies groups, you know, I was pretty casual about my dress. And one night I went out to talk to Zonta, and they were meeting in this very fancy restaurant, you know. And I came in and dressed a little too casually. But anyway, I was sitting down waiting for them to get all ready for it. And the girl sitting next to me, she says, I just found out that you're our speaker tonight. I thought you were the busboy. I was taking this course, girls. You know, this is at the State University of New York. Oh, you have no idea how many, you know, there's 2,500 students up there. At least there's 2,500 people registered. Whether they're all students or not is another question. And I would go from building to building, girls, day after day, and I'd never see a face that I knew. And then one day I had great luck. I was going from another building to another class, and there I saw a face, somebody I recognized, a dog. A little beagle with a tan face. And that dog was so comical, girls. He would go off to the campus. He'd come on every morning at 8 o'clock, I'd see him. And then at 3:30 in the afternoon, that dog would walk home. You know, and he was all tired out, you know, from being on the campus all day. And he'd walk home like this. You know, he was all tired out. And the way he walked, I knew he was a professor. Any of you girls ever been in Buffalo? They have a thing called Humboldt Park. Right downtown in Buffalo, Humboldt Park. Well, this little kid had been in Sunday school and he came home and his mother says, "What'd you learn?" And the little kid says, "I learned that Jesus sneaked through Humboldt Park." And his mother got on the phone, she called up the Sunday school teacher and she says, "What did you teach my kid?" And the Sunday school teacher says, "I told everybody that Jesus had a meek and humble heart." And they advertised at this, they sent around a little flyer to this party that we were all supposed to go for. This is the party at Meanigan was there, and it said that they were going to have a modest cash bar. And when I got there, I noticed that the more and more cash went into the bar, the less and less modest the people got. To Mr. Miller, and the person with whom I was talking about Leo DeRoche's baseball career. And it was sort of going back to the old days, talking about Leo DeRoche. And I said, "Well, where is Leo DeRoche now?" And they didn't, neither one of them seemed to know. And so I told them that whatever you could say about Leo DeRoche was that he had his day. Oh, my God. Oh, clever. Well, where is she now? He had her. Yeah, where is she now? And a lot of people will say, no, she did?
No. They're divorced, but she didn't die. Oh, no.
No, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't heard from either one of them. A lot of comical. We were doing the Seymour adult education. And one class they had ladies was in rug braiding, and oh, their work is beautiful. It's terrific. Well, I went around, I saw all these rugs, and Freddie and I were taking pictures of them. They were, some of them they were this far along, you know, some were this big, and some. And one woman I came to, hers was just a strip like that, just two rows. And I said something about. "Oh, how long have you been in the course?" She says, 2 years. And I says, "Oh, well then this must be your second rug." "No, my first." And here's this puny little piece of rug. It's about this big. And then, up at the Seymour Gymnasium, when they had the basketball jamboree up there, I was covering that. And it happened to be a night when the scoreboard wasn't working. And Andy Martin, he's an officer for the Seymour Police. And he wanted to know if I knew what the score was, and I said, "Well, no, I don't." And he said, "Well, the scoreboard's out of order." He was telling me that the scoreboard was out of order, and I said, "Well, gee, Andy, if it's out of order, you have to arrest it." Now let's see what else I can tell you. Oh, this was good. This was a Pop Warner football. And the announcer was doing the play-by-play for me, and he was really very good. And he went on. He got very excited. It was I don't know whether it was Derby playing Trumbull or whether it was Seymour playing Trumbull. But anyway, he was watching all the play, and describing to the people everything that was happening, and he was getting so excited and so excited. And he said, "And there it is, another Trumbull fumble." So we have a lot of Trumbull fumbles in cable, let me tell you. And one time, folks, I was coming down from Maine, and I had to make it. Well, I had a long way to go, so I left Maine at 2:30 in the morning, and they put me at the New Hampshire toll booth at 5 o'clock Sunday morning. And I had my hair, and I came in and I gave the guy a quarter, and he was a great big fat face, very jovial New Hampshire person. And he said to me, "Hi," and then he sort of hesitated, "Neighbor." And then as he was giving me my change, I knew why he hesitated. He says, he says, "Them boys," he says, "they come through this toll gate," he says, "they have long hair." And he says, "But when I seen you in those hair curlers, I knowed you was genuine." My church choir, and during the summer they don't have any choir, they just have soloists, and he was one of the soloists. They put out a roster at the beginning of the summer, and it listed all of the soloist names, and all of the sermon titles. And it was very interesting when it came out. It said his name. It said, "Franklin Buell, soloist, sermon, for pity's sake."
council president and tell us about the
Falls Business and Professional Women's Club meeting at Martha's Inn in Hudson Falls. And I'm very proud that Glendora picked our club out to be interviewed. Glendora, would you come to the microphone, please?
Oh, thank you, Elena. You got in there. I don't think I can, but... Elena, where are my notes?
Right in front of you. Right.
Yeah?
Right now.
Where's mine? No, that's the bill.
No, it's front. Right by the roses. Right here. No. Well, can I help you?
Photographer, do you have my notes? Oh, oh, thank you. And the photographer's name is who?
Dick Hillis.
Dick Hillis. Yay! Wouldn't like a job as a cameraman part-time, would you, Dick? Folks, we're very happy to announce that we are at the meeting of the, what's the name of this group?
Hudson Falls Business and Professional Women.
The Hudson Falls Business and Professional Women. And I'd like to have you meet some of these distinguished people in just a second. First of all, we have our president, and this is Elena Bissell. Hi, Elena.
Hello, Glendora.
Did I strangle you? Elena, won't you tell us how your great group is behaving?
Very well. I'm very proud of all the girls in our club. I think we have a tremendous club here. And tonight we've got a few prospective members that we're hoping to join our club.
Those are the ones under the table.
No.
Well, gee, and Elena, you belong to it how long?
Oh, let me think. Now, this is possibly 6-7 years.
Really?
Yes.
So I guess you think it's a pretty good thing.
Yes, I do.
Is your club roomy enough for some more members?
Definitely. We love new members.
You know, small ones, not necessarily fat ones, you know, just...
Any kind of member, as long as they're working women in the area, we would love and extend great welcome, too.
Just have to be a working woman in this area.
Right.
And with whom would such a person get in touch?
Well, we have a new slate of officers this year, and our first vice president that would be in charge would be Joanne Moffett.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Lorraine, won't you tell the whole world why you think this is such a grand club?
Well, it gives you quite an opportunity to meet a lot of new business girls, professional girls, people that are working in any type of business, and it's quite a nice fellowship to work with in a club with professional and business women.
I saw some of the fellowship that came in before the supper.
That's called a social hour.
Oh, are you related to Kathy Moffett?
Yes, I'm her mother.
And she's on camera right now. Can you tell her? Can you tell us about the job she's doing as recording secretary?
Well, I'd say she's doing a pretty good job. The night, about 10 minutes before we leave for the meeting, she says, "Mom, who was here and what was named there?" But she's doing a great job.
We have to give her equal time. What'd you say, Kathy? She said, stop telling her secrets. Jen, let's see, could you introduce me to May Hammett, who is the chairman of the meeting. Thanks a lot, Jen. Okay. Hi, May.
May Hammett. Hi, how are you today?
Fine, thanks. Are you too full to stand up in bed? Well, see, we have to shoot over everybody's heads. And you came into the organization how?
Through friends and the business associates.
You did? You heard about it through them, right? And you don't regret it? Does it cost a lot each year?
No, there's a nominal fee that we pay each year.
5 cents?
A little more.
No, but it isn't much, though, is it? Think that you will join BPW?
If I am around here when I
you certainly will,
become
right?
professional.
Are you a senior?
No, I'm just a junior.
You're a junior, right? Well, you could become a professional junior. Stay that way all your life, and maybe you could get in that way.
That would be nice.
What kind of a career would you like to... You have such an interesting last name, McLenithan.
McLenithan, yes.
McLenithan.
Yes.
It's M-C-N-I-T-H-E-N.
A-N.
A-N. We'll do a whole half hour on how to spell your
name. Yes, it took me that long.
It's a nice Scotch name, isn't it?
Irish.
Irish. Oh, boy. Hey, everybody, we're at the Hudson Falls Business and Professional Women's Club, and we're talking to some of the members up here. And this member is Katie McLenithan, spelled
M-C-L-A-L-E-N-I-T-H-A-N.
Now, Katie, do you remember what we were talking about other than the spelling of your name?
Yes. How I had got interested into a BPW.
Yeah.
Elena had just asked if I would be interested. I'm really big on, I think so many people feel that women going to work is such a drag. You know, most of them do it just because they have to, and I think, to me it isn't, and I think to most women it isn't. It's fun, it's rewarding, and I think that all the world should know this and know how important it is for women in the working world.
Oh, Katie, that's wonderful! Very, very fine. And you belonged how long? You just joined tonight?
Yes, this is it. I've been a member a year.
Have you really?
Yes.
Yeah. Really?
Right, yes.
7,000 in New York and 185,000 in the United States. Right. New York State, yeah, right. Gee, think of all those women talking all at once.
Right.
Last summer, I attended my first national convention in Florida, and it was quite exciting.
I bet it was,
yeah,
right?
I think there was over 2,000 women there.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Whereabouts? Now I thought I'd tell you a few of the things that makes cable TV sort of funny. First of all, there was a little domestic event. This woman always had this women's club, and they always met in the same room in her house every week. And so one night the ladies came, and the room looked so different. And one of the ladies says, what'd you do to make this room look so much better? She says, do you have new carpeting? And the hostess says, no. And one of the other ladies says, well, do you have new draperies? And the hostess says, no. And another woman said, I know what you've done. You've reupholstered the furniture. And the hostess says, no. And then the women practically in unison says, what have you done to make this room look so much better? And the hostess said, I took down the ironing board. There was an explosion underneath an automobile in a car. It was underneath a car, and there was this explosion, and the newspaper was writing it up, and here's how it came out in the newspaper. It said, the explosion was so violent that it set off a burglar alarm in a tavern across the street. My husband's a reporter, and he was writing a story about the New York State Transportation, the Thruway Authority, and about a man named Mladenoff, and he spells the name very unusually. He spells it the way his name is, but it's an unusual name. M-L-A-D-I-N-O-V. And he's typing away this story, you know, it has to be in the second edition. He's typing it really fast, and he looks at that and he says, the typesetter's going to misset that. He's not going to think that's the way the man spells his name. So in time-honored editorial tradition, he put over the name CQ, which means, I know this looks strange, but this is in fact the way the man spells his name, so don't change it. So he was overwhelmed to see his story come out in the second edition, and everywhere it was spelled M-L-A-D-I-C-Q-N-O-V. I wrote this little book, and I went out and I had it published myself, and I took it down to the local bookstore, and I said, would you please put it on sale? And they did, and then time went by, and one day we got a little letter from them, and it was a purchasing order, and it's asking for 6 more books. And so I was delighted, of course, and at the top of the purchasing order it says, ship these books by the cheapest means possible. And so my husband is down around City Hall, you know, covering all that. And so he was going right by the store, and I asked him to take in these books, and he goes into the store with the books under his arms, and he says, the purchasing order says to ship these books by the cheapest means possible. I'm it. This little program that I had on Channel 6 that you folks remember so well was called the SS Glendora. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And that SS, you know, it was a little ship. You remember the little ship? Yeah. And the SS, you know, stood for steamship. And I tried to get that through to the kids. Nothing doing. Stupid show. And these little kids, they were cute as a dickens, you know. I used to put them all in these little sailors' costumes. You remember that? Little hats and little epaulettes on the shoulder and everything. And they'd come in and they'd say, "This is Chief Mate so-and-so reporting from Hudson Falls." And then they go to the next one. "This is Chief Mate so-and-so reporting from Fort Edward." "This is Chief Mate so-and-so reporting from Troy." And this one little boy came on the program. He's awfully little. You know, he's only about this big. And I couldn't even find a hat to fit him, you know, and it came way down on his ears like that, the poor little kid. And he got up in front of the microphone, you know, and he said, "This is Chief Mate." And all this most panicked expression came over his face. And he looked off the camera to his mother. He says, "This is Chief Mate. Where am I from?" I used to do a commercial 5 days a week for a product called Cocoa Marsh. You know, it was a chocolate syrup. And every day that commercial was live, see? And I had to eat that chocolate syrup every day in some form or other. I had to either put the chocolate syrup on cake, or I had to put it in a glass, you know, and mix it up and drink it, or you put it on ice cream. I used to try to eat that in, you know, 40 different ways. And I had to do it 5 days a week. It was across the board. I was really sick. You know, I'd go home after that program at 5:45. My mother would say, "Don't you want something to eat?" "No, thanks." And so my advertising was so brilliant that the company lost money. And they went down from 5 days a week to 3 days a week. Well, that meant that Bosco could come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I thought that, you know, if a sponsor was across the board, he had immunity. You know, that meant another product of the same kind couldn't come in there. Well, that's what I thought. Immunity, I thought, meant you could eat the sponsor's product and not get sick on it. But finally, Bosco came in, and I'd been doing these Cocoa Marsh commercials all these years, see? And it came for me, time for me to do my first Bosco lead, and at least that was on film, and I didn't have to eat anything. And so I was supposed to say, I'd been by a summer theater, and they were playing The Chocolate Soldier, and it was so hot, I was supposed to say that the chocolate soldier looked like a jar of Bosco. That's what I was supposed to say. So I said it was so hot that the chocolate soldier looked like a jar of Cocoa Marsh. And there they are paying $120 a minute. How's that? How is that for business and professional work? But I think one of the funniest things that happened, ladies, was they started taping my program. That was the first year that videotape came in. And they started taping my program on Fridays, and I lived in Buffalo. I still do. And I'd go home, you know, on Friday, on the train, I'd go home, and the program was all on tape and everything, and I'd be home in Buffalo, and the program would be going down in Schenectady. So this little boy came up to be on Freddie Freihoffer, and he came running into the lobby there of WRGB, and he went up to Mae Dunn, the receptionist, you know, and he said, "Can I see Glendora?" And Mae said, without ever realizing how it sounded to him, she said, "I'm sorry, but Glendora isn't live today." Mae said the expression that came over that kid's face, you know, was something like, "I hope the poor thing didn't suffer," you know. And then one sponsor I had, his face, you know, was something like, "I hope the poor thing didn't suffer," you know. And then one sponsor I had was, he had a shoe store down in Schenectady. And he had this gimmick of giving away lollipops. And he said, "Now, Glendora, all the time that you do my commercial, you make sure that you're eating a lollipop, and you make sure that every kid in that studio is eating a lollipop." So I'm running around, you know, interviewing the kids like this, and I'm licking my lollipop. And the kids are running all over the place. It scares you to death, you know, to go on television anyway. But you got these kids running all over, you know, and that scares you even more. And there's one little fella, you know, I tried to calm him down, and I looked off the camera, you know, and tried to give him the evil eye so he, you know, take it easy. And then I looked back at the camera,
As I say, I'm running around with my microphone and the lollipop and everything, interviewing the kids. And I look back into the camera, and instead of putting that lollipop in my mouth, I put the microphone in my mouth. I have to tell you is about the public education, National Public Education Television. The president of it is Hartford Gunn, and I wrote him a letter about some things that I had on my mind. And later on, you know, I thought he was just an ordinary fellow, so I wrote him a very breezy letter. And later on, I read in Broadcasting Magazine that his salary is $45,000 a year. So I point this out to you that Hartford Gunn is really a big shot. Well, that's all. You're much better looking than the last group that I came up here and videotaped. It was the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police. And boy, were they happy. They were really happy, and I had several offers for drinks, and it got me really a little scared there. I thought, gee, what'll I do? I should call the police. But it was an interesting meeting. It was all chiefs and no Indians. Yeah, it was really very good, though. I mean, they do good things. Well, this has been a chat with Glendora for Colonial Cablevision. We've been at a meeting of the Business and Professional Women's Club in Hudson Falls. We've enjoyed it very much, and we thank you so much for being with us. Bye-bye, everybody, and be as nice as you can to everyone. Hi! This is a chat with Glendora.
Oh, why don't you wait and see the exhibition with Cooper and me?
No, thank you. I'll stop by as long as I'm here, just for a minute. Enjoy the game.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. This is Glendora. How are you today? The boss believes in reincarnation. Did you ever notice at 5 p.m. how everybody comes back to life? And did you know the first time it snowed in Atlanta, they thought it was an explosion of grits? Paul says, I always give my wife the last word. And Ed says, you're lucky. Mine never gets to hers. This 30 seconds of good cheer and goodwill is brought to you by Texaco Incorporated.
I'm scared.
Hi, folks. How are you today? A boy got a job working for Jack Lemmon, and the boy liked the job very much, but he didn't like it when his family called him Lemonade. Folks, why was a baby shoe crying? 'Cause his mother was a sneak and his daddy was a loafer. A woman was showing her new photographs to a friend, and the friend says, these photographs don't do you justice. And the woman says, it isn't justice I need, it's mercy. This 30 seconds of goodwill and good cheer are brought to you by the Xerox Corporation.
I could get a beautiful designer suit.
Just 2.3 miles from the Lincoln Tunnel, Route 27 Edison, and now Route 10 East Hanover.
Folks, this is Glendora. The doctor said to Ed, I can't help you. Your sickness is hereditary. And Ed said, send the bill to my father. Joan said to her doctor, give my son 2 shots for German measles, one for East Germany and one for West Germany. Bob has a dog who plays poker. The dog's not so smart. Every time he gets a good hand, he wags his tail. Lou wants to be an inventor. He's crossing an electric blanket with a toaster so people will pop out of bed in the morning. This 30 seconds of good cheer is brought to you by the Quaker Oats Company.
Should your name be on this envelope?
Available in the frozen food section of your supermarket. Giorgio, making great taste a little easier.
Hi, folks. A woman's work is never done, thanks to daytime TV. And in spite of what you read in the newspapers, people do not die in alphabetical order. And Paul says he can't afford to fly to Rome, Paris, or Hong Kong, but his luggage has been to all 3. Bob and Joan are celebrating their 10th anniversary, 8 years of eating out of cans. Regardless, you can still be happy, and the Glendora Happy Book shows you how. Send $3 and you'll get 3 Glendora Happy Books and 3 Glendora Money Pens. Soap that gets so small you can't use them anymore, they put them in a wrapper and give them to you in your hotel room. In my last hotel room, the faucet pressure was so low, instead of running water, I had walking water. I like renting a place to live because I get tired of the responsibility of owning a home. So I rent a place. Then I get tired of the irresponsibility of landlords. But that's life, and right thought will find a
way to get the best of both worlds. When about... Chat with Glendora continues, and here we are at NBC television at 30 Rockefeller Plaza up on the 12th floor, and Mr. Bud Hirsch was kind enough to tell you how he got started. Bud, where were you born?
I was born in New York City, believe it or not.
And where'd you go to school?
I went to high school.
Mr. Miller, who went to St. Louis, the one in St. Louis. That's very good for you.
Yeah, University of Missouri is very
right.
good.
Now, Paul, what was your first job out of Northwestern?
I came to work in New York out of school. I had been working.
Let's take a break.
And eventually I did a lot of different things in business, and then I got involved in broadcasting about 7 years ago.
Oh, you did? How did that come about?
Well, I got involved in the acquisition of a broadcasting company, and then I became the president of the company called Cox Cable Communications.
Yes, right, in Atlanta.
Which is in Atlanta,
yeah.
Right? And we were very active in building new systems and to a lesser extent acquiring systems, but I traveled all around the country and got very involved in both broadcasting and cable television.
Yeah.
And all over the country.
And you know, that Cox there, they own a lot of cable TV stations, don't they?
Well, we got very expansion-minded, and we even got involved in cable television in Europe, too, in Denmark.
You did?
And I went to Australia. And,
oh, my.
But the governments in most places aren't too interested in having Americans own large percentages of their communications government.
I'm expansion-minded too, but it's all right here around the waist. And then, where did you go from Cox?
Well, from Cox, I went to work for General Electric, and I was involved in General Electric's cable television operations and its broadcasting operations, and I was also involved in other areas. In areas of, again, financial areas, acquisitions and things of that nature. And then we got, General Electric acquired RCA. And then I came over from General Electric to become the president of NBC, and that's how I got here.
Oh, it's such an interesting career. And that's how you ended up in Fairfield, because I think General Electric's cable was centered in Fairfield, wasn't it?
Yes, I actually never worked in Fairfield.
Oh, you never did?
No, I've worked, most recently my office was in Stamford, Connecticut before I came here.
Oh.
Although I live in that area, but I didn't work there.
I see, yeah. This is Mr. Robert C. Wright, who is the president and chief executive officer of NBC. And he'll be back in just a second and tell you what his work is like, to see if you'd like to aim for that as a career. And then he'll also give you some ideas how to get started in broadcasting in today's world. Here's what your days consist of.
Well, my days consist of generally a lot of meetings with different people in different parts of NBC. Sales, programming, public relations. We'll deal with news issues and personnel matters relating to people that are being hired or people that are leaving the company for some particular reason. We also are in the television station business, so some days I'll be out at our television stations, such as WNBC here in New York. Or sometimes there'll be a discussion or something involving NBC Sports. So they can be very different days.
Is there a lot of travel?
Yes, there is. We have a very large organization out in California, and we also have a large group in Washington and Chicago, to name some places where we have a lot of people that require you to be there on occasion.
And a lot of telephoning, Mr. Wright?
A lot more than I would like.
Now, could you just tell the kids some ideas how to get started in today's world, which is a different world than you started in broadcasting?
Well, in broadcasting, it's probably the best advice is to go to try to find a position at a television station, and either a public television station or a commercial television station or a cable television operation. When you're out in the field and you're out in a location that is its own world like that, that's the best place to get a start. A network is more difficult. The jobs are more competitive, and generally the people have experience already. So you really have to go to one of those other areas to develop the experience. And it almost doesn't make any difference what you do. If you're really inclined to want to be in production, then you ought to try to gear yourself that way. But the real issue is to get the first job and be flexible and offer to do a lot of different things so that you're attractive as a candidate.
You know, that's a very good point you make. It really doesn't make any difference what you do because it'll all end up right anyhow.
Well, you just got to get in there and get yourself a chance to demonstrate what your abilities are and let people see you, and people give you a chance to assume some responsibility so that they can see what you can accomplish. And don't be too particular about everything that you're asked to do or in your very first job.
Good way to go about it. Anything else you wanted to tell the kids, Mr. Wright?
Well, I'd say that the more important thing is, whether you're in broadcasting or whether you're in some other area, is just that you really have to come to grips with wanting to accomplish something. You have to have a sense that you want to get something done. It doesn't have to be really a big thing. It just has to be something. You have to have a target in front of you so that you can motivate yourself and that you can be the best person you can be. And if you have targets, and maybe those targets sometimes you can accomplish them in a week, or maybe it's a month or a year, but you have to have some things that you kind of work for. The best things that happen to people don't happen by accident. They happen because the people are working towards some objective. So get those objectives out early and work on summer jobs and work after school and get yourself used to trying to accomplish something, and you'll find no matter what you do, you'll have a lot more of a sense of achievement.
We want to thank you very much in all your busy day to think enough of the kids to give them this time. It was very nice of you.
I wish everybody out there good luck.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Mr. Wright.
Good.
And now a gentleman from ABC Television is kind enough to join us and tell you how he got started on his career and see how you can get started on yours. This is Mr. George Newey. Hi, George.
Hi, Glendora.
How you doing?
Just fine.
Oh, that's good to hear. George, will you tell the kids first of all where you were born?
Well, I was born in Queens, New York.
Queens?
Part of New York City. Grew up.
Bob says that nothing is cheap anymore. And then he says, that's because they don't know my boss. That's why people say that. And Joe said to his boss, he says, boss, you could promote a person like me, couldn't you? And the boss says, yes, I could, if he wasn't too much like you. And Mary said to Joni, she says, I feel like telling the boss off again. And Joni says, again? Mary says, yes, I felt like it too last week.
A microfiche. And what do you call a smart company? A company that advertises on television. Call or write Glendora TV ads and tell enough people to fill Yankee Stadium what your product or service can do for them. We've been doing TV ads for 33 years. You can verify this by counting the rings under our eyes. TV advertising has made a millionaire of more than one person. Now it's your turn. Call or write Glendora TV ads today.
There was an argument early today at Manhattan Well.
Super Bowl week. The Giants and Broncos.
That probes. Share the vision. Fidelity Investments.
87 models should do even better than our 86s.
Hi. Do you know why the bunny rabbit has to be changed into a goon within the next 24 hours? So he could be here today and goon tomorrow. We're here today to ask if you're in business and want to increase volume sales and revenue. Then give TV advertising a try. Call or write Glendora TV ads and tell enough people to fill Yankee Stadium what your product or service can do for them. TV advertising has made a millionaire of more than one person. Now it's your turn. Call or write Glendora TV ads today.
The vision. Fidelity Investments.
As Gabe Pressman told us earlier, protesters marched from a mid...
From New York, you can visit us in person or order any number of unpleasant experiences by phone. It's Late Night with David Letterman. Tonight, Rob Reiner, cable TV talk show host Glendora, and comedian Rich Schneidner, plus Paul Schaefer and the NBC Orchestra. And now, a guy who likes salad as much as the next guy, unless the next guy is named Mr. Giant Bunny, David Letterman.
Room in the land, and Bork said no, but it sure would be fun, wouldn't it? And well, this is a great show. We have here's a woman who was supposed to be with us last night, and the show was so much fun and just so good. It was white hot, and as a result, we didn't really have enough time, the fair amount of time, to devote to this woman, so she consented to be over on the show tonight, stayed over. Her name is Glendora, and she is here tonight. You know, as I'm explaining that, I can hear a voice in my head saying, Dave, you're just full of hot gas. And now, what was that? Speaking of hot gas, well, also a terribly talented filmmaker, Rob Reiner, is here tonight. And a very funny comedian and making his first appearance on our program, Rich Scheidner, will be with us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Paul Schaefer and the NBC Orchestra right over there. Huh? I'm sorry, I had a little cramped muscle here, a little muscle cramp. Okay, here we go. We get a great show. Rob Reiner, Glendora, and Rich Scheidner. All of this and much, much more when you come on back, folks. Thanks. And, I don't know, we got trouble there, huh? Yeah, so we won't see it tonight. I'm sorry. It's not my fault, ladies and gentlemen. You understand, it's the fault of this damn network. So please spare me your hostilities. I'm on your side. I understand. I'm as disappointed as you people are. Nobody wanted to see that any more than yours truly, all right? All right, let's just get on. We have such a great show, we can sustain a loss like that. Our first guest tonight is a talented actor and director, and his first film was This Is Spinal Tap last summer. He directed Stand By Me, and his latest film, The Princess Bride, opens this week. Please say hello to Rob Reiner. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Hey, coming up in this half hour, Glendora will be here, and also comedian Rich Scheidner. Tomorrow on the program, tomorrow is another great show. I don't know who's putting this show together, but this one is another solid gold program. Paul, you don't have any Rolaids, do you?
I can send out for some.
Yeah, do you mind?
Yeah, I'll send out.
I feel like I'm having a little trouble here tonight.
What could cause a thing like that?
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, on the program tomorrow, Sugar Ray Leonard will be here. And also from the Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia and Bob Weir. That'll be tomorrow night. Now, let's just bring out Glendora, shall we? Okay. My next guest believes in using television to spread her own special brand of happiness. She has made over 100 commercials. We have an example of one right here.
Hey, folks. How are you today? Just miserable, right? This is Glendora for delicious Worthington Veggie-Links. Veggie-Links by Worthington, folks, have no cholesterol. Delicious Veggie-Links have fewer calories than regular hot dogs, and Veggie-Links have no preservatives. I have no preservatives either. You see the wrinkles? Get your delicious Veggie-Links at the Glendora Health Nook at...
No need to shop everywhere. Go straight to Twin Fair.
And her show, A Chat with Glendora, has featured guests like Robert C. Wright, the president of NBC. Folks, please welcome the happiness lady, Glendora. Hi, Glendora. How are you? Pleasure to see you. Please have a seat. Where are you from, Glendora? Where does this show take place? Where can people see this?
Oh, the chat with Glendora?
Yeah.
You can see this on Manhattan Cable TV and Paragon Cable TV, and you can also see it in Westchester, where all the rich people live, United Artists Cable.
And from where does it originate?
Well, of course, we originated at Mr. Wright's office and at Madeline Smithberg's dressing room and at Mr. and the chairman of General Foods and the chairman of Nestle's. We originated in people's offices. Some people come to our home, David.
I see.
The chairman of Colgate-Palmolive, Pete, came to our home.
How do you get all of these people?
At 7 a.m.
And I guess you were steamed, huh, that he was there so early?
Well, the thing that interested me about him, David, was that he did his own marketing research, and he went through all of our cupboards to see if we had any Colgate-Palmolive products.
And what did the research turn up?
Zero.
Zero.
He didn't look under the sink cupboard where he would have found something. He didn't go into the bathroom cupboard. He really would have found something.
Now, tell me about the show. What is the format? When somebody tunes in, what do they see?
They see where were you born, where'd you go to school, what were your jobs, what is your present work like, and what advice would you give a youngster to get started on such a career today?
So it's an interview show primarily?
Yes, that's what we asked Mr. Wright.
Yeah, a half-hour show, is it?
Yes, isn't it amazing what the public will stand?
And is it on once a week?
Yeah, oh yes.
And how many years have you been on the air?
Well, I've been on television 35 years, but that show's been on the air a year and 3/4.
Are you hoping that this particular show will maybe grow, perhaps expand, maybe get to a network status or a local TV station or something?
Well, I sort of doubt that.
You don't think that'll happen? Well, you sure have the wardrobe for it, you know. Now let's take a look. Show me some of the footage. This is Robert Wright, the president now of NBC. You know, how did you get this guy to be on the show? Because we've asked him for years and years.
Have you?
Now. Oh yeah, and he won't come on the show. How did you get him?
It must be my good looks, huh?
Yeah.
Except I did talk to him over the phone, so that wouldn't have helped. No, I figure this way, David. He's a nice man, and he does want to help the youth. And that's what this is all about.
He wants to help the youth.
Yeah, that's what this problem...
Have we heard anything about that? He wants to help the youth? Paul, did you hear anything about Robert Wright wanting to help the youth of this country?
Robert C. Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to help the youth.
I think he just... I think he's just looking to balloon the stock prices. I think that's about all we're into here.
No, he's a very nice man.
Very nice man. All right, now let's take a look at a couple of seconds from his interview on your show, okay? We have that here? Yeah. Robert C. Wright and Glendora, helping the youth. It is a chat with Glendora.
And then we got General Electric acquired RCA. And then I came over from General Electric to become the president of NBC. And that's how I got here.
Oh, it's such an interesting career. And that's how you ended up in Fairfield, because I think General Electric's cable was centered in Fairfield, wasn't it?
Yes, I actually never worked in Fairfield.
Oh, you never did?
No, I've worked, most recently my office was in Stamford, Connecticut before I came here.
Oh.
Although I live in that area, but I didn't work there.
I see, yeah. This is Mr. Robert C. Wright, who is the president and chief executive officer of NBC. And he'll be back in just a second and tell you what his work is like to see if you'd like to aim for that as a career. And then he'll also give you some ideas how to get started in broadcasting in today's world.
Yeah. It seems like you and he were dressed alike, didn't he? You sort of have the same kind of look there. Now, I don't want to linger on this, but how did General Electric's acquisition of RCA, how did that ultimately help the youth of this country?
What helped the youth was Mr. Wright telling how he got started, because he was at the same point. Yeah, he was at the same point in his development as the youth who watch the program we hope are in theirs.
I see. Now tell me about your personal recipe for happiness. You're known as the happiness lady.
Well,
is that what they say?
No.
What do they call you?
Glendora.
Yeah.
And what did you say your name was?
I'm Dave. That'll be my last night.
You are a very good interviewer.
Well, thank you.
And I'm going to recommend you for a raise.
Thank you.
The recipe for happiness, David, is that there's one thing in this world that you can do better than anybody else. And if you will go by yourself, you will find out what that is. And you will do it, and you'll be happy. Now, if you don't do it, David, it's going to nag at you every second of your life.
So you find out what it is that you're good at,
No, the one thing that you can do better than anybody else.
the one thing you can do better than anyone else,
Yeah.
and you just concentrate on that.
Yes, you do.
And then that'll make you happy.
Well, sure, because you'll get everything you want.
Yeah. And the Vegilinks, vegetable protein, no meat at all in here, right?
No meat.
All right. Well, geez, Glendora, good luck with the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I hope you can come back and see us again sometime.
Oh, we'd like to very much. Would that take 2 days or just one the next time?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, that's right. You were supposed to be here last night. Okay. We have to go here now. We have other guests. But thank you very much. Nice to see you.